Pretty sure this used to be an old horse camp before there was a logging road in here. But had to have rode a string of horses up here. Somebody built a cabin up here a long time ago. Not much left. Looks like there used to be a frame. Oh, wall tent frame. And somebody attempted to put sheet metal on it, I guess, since the road come up, maybe. Hoping to get a view back here. I don't think it's gonna happen. Windy. All right, there you go. On the top of this mountain, and usually the wind's like 5 million miles per hour up here, and I was going to try to take everybody up here a couple days ago, but I didn't pan out. Ooh, a little chilly, but it's nice. I'm as far as you can go by road, and I think I was here a couple days ago and nobody's been up here since. There's literally nobody around here anywhere, which I kind of like anyway. And what am I doing? What is it? It's U.S. election day today. I don't even know if anybody's even going to watch this later on, but whatever. Well, looked into the sun. I think I'm going to sneeze. Hold on a second. I got up early this morning, did a big hike, real big one, and in a place where I've been lucky and harvested a couple of real big old bucks 2 years in a row. It doesn't seem to be anything down there yet. I think this big heavy snowfall is going to make it happen. It was an absolute crazy ass blizzard yesterday, so it'd have been a big hike. Didn't really see the sign I'm looking for yet. And then I thought I'd come way up here after that blizzard, because I just got a funny. I know doesn't seem to be too many deer around here, but usually for me, when I find a spot with not much in numbers, that's where I find the big old cranker bucks every time. So I think I went about 3 miles without cutting one track, and then I started getting into a few deer tracks back that way a bit. And then all of a sudden, finally, monstrous, huge buck track. And it looked like he was bounding down the road a little bit. He cut off up the mountain into the forest. So he might have heard me coming. And if that's the case, I'm definitely going to go take a look and see if I can track him a little bit. I thought I'd keep going, and then you let him cool off, right? Let him mellow out and go back to doing his routine, and hopefully there's a couple of does around there and I'll get my eyes on him. It's funny, with my hunting, I'm at the stage of the game. You have to have 4 points on one side for mule deer to be able to harvest one here. I remember when I was a kid, I'd be like, oh, I hope I find a 4 point. I hope I find a 4 point. And I don't even know when it switched over, but then eventually it morphed into, I guess, getting more experience, and it morphed into, I don't want anything unless I can find a big, old, past his prime, senior citizen slugger. And not just any deer. I need to find that one deer, and then I've found that I don't even really get hard into it unless I find that buck, the sign of that buck, and then I go at it like a bloodhound. As soon as I know I've found him, and then I'll hunt that one specific deer. I don't know how I came about doing that, but I did. But it's exciting, it's hard, and the sweet flavor of success, knocking off that goal, is something else when you do it, because it's hard to do. But that's how I love to do my hunting. Solo, find that rare old beast that's eluded everybody forever, and then stay on him, and then hopefully harvest him. Now, if I could pull some of this off, I don't know, the wind's just starting to lick me in the face here. Big fog bank coming up. Let's see if we can try one anyway, while that big buck mellows out. And then I'll go check him out. Who do we got? Hold on a minute, I've got a bunch saved here with phone numbers. People just want me to get a hold of them for important items. Let's try this one. Not marked as red, but it is now. Alright, here we go. Let's mark this as red. I might have to move. That wind's starting to pick up. It's going to be those thermals, right? And it'll start screaming here, and you guys won't be able to hear me. My similar experience to Alicia's March 2009 experience in Big Sur. Validation note. Hi Steve, please do not reference my email name if you end up reading this on your broadcast. I come from a very small beach town. Before I continue, let me say that I love your work, your attitude towards life, and appreciate your channel daily. Thanks for being here and doing what you do. You're very welcome. It's too easy. Part of your broadcast earlier this week was about an area where I too had experiences, and I wanted to validate what you talked about in the email from Alicia that you read on your broadcast. She wrote about her hike above Julia Pfeiffer Falls in Big Sur, California, when her husband left her alone on the trail. As teens, we used to hike that same area, usually day hikes, though a little further north of Big Sur, about 15 miles south of Carmel and Carmel Highlands. In spring of '72, while in high school, I decided to hike up Granite Canyon by myself, since my friends had all graduated and left for college. It was either go alone or not go at all. I was full of spunk and had no hesitation about trying things on my own. Before noon, I drove down the coast on Highway 1, jumped the fence near Granite Creek Bridge, and followed that same path I'd taken before with friends, hiking on the Cow Trail east that runs up towards Ventana Wilderness. The trail cuts across open meadows with a full view of the Pacific Ocean, then drops down into a dense redwood forest. And after less than a mile, it breaks into an incredible field of wildflowers and leads down to a great little stream with log jams. I hiked the familiar trail and got to the stream, feeling totally self-confident without a care in the world. I spread out my picnic cloth and began to take out the lunch I'd packed when I had the same feeling Alicia described in her March 2009 experience you read to us. It felt as though I was being watched from all sides of me, from above, but from above as though the watchers were up in the redwood trees. In seconds I was riddled with panic, as though I should immediately leave and was unsafe. It was odd, since I was so proud of myself for hiking alone and having no fear. But I suddenly couldn't escape fast enough. I threw everything into my day pack and ran as fast as I could from the stream and up the side of the canyon. It wasn't until I cleared the top of the ridge and headed back down towards the highway on that same cow trail that I began to feel safe. For 50 years I've wondered what if I was being paranoid, but I never went to that particular path and meadow again. But once, about a year later, some friends and I backpacked and camped not far from there, hiking into the mountains on the Pine Ridge Trail. As night fell, and we were in our sleeping bags on a hill out under the stars, a very thick fog started rolling in over the mountains. Sorry. And I began to have that same panicked feeling that I'd had up Granite Canyon the year before. Since I was with friends this time, 5 of us, I didn't run and certainly didn't mention it, or I would have been ridiculed forever. But that second time it felt as though the fog was a thick layer of smoke from a forest fire crawling over the hill behind us. Seeing no orange fire, nor smelling any smoke, I said nothing, but that's the kind of intense fear it was. Feeling trapped with no escape, as though we'd entered into a place we didn't belong, and as though at any moment my life would end. I didn't sleep a wink all night, and stayed ready to immediately launch and run from impending doom. I never mentioned it, no one else mentioned it, and I've never been back in that wilderness since. If you write to Alicia, tell her thanks for verifying my own experiences on the California Central Coast. And thanks to you for helping so many of us finally understand that yes, there are watchers in those woods. Whatever they are, they communicate without the need for sound or voice as they penetrate directly into one's psyche. They truly can access one's own worst nightmare and make it appear to be real. And although I encountered unbelievable inner fear on those 2 occasions, I was never harmed. What I do find odd is the sudden and intense level of panic and fear, because I have survived many near-death experiences and I've never been afraid. But when those beings are there, there is no way to describe the panic and the immediate need to escape. No fight, but only flight on steroids. It's of another dimension for sure, even for the fearless. Thanks for all you do and for helping so many of us find validation of our experiences. After 50 years, it's great to understand these parts of my past and to know that others have felt it too. Best regard to you and yours, from a Northern California girl. And there you go. I'm super glad this place is helping you and many others. There goes our view wrapped around the fog. Random, right? She's talking about the fog when the fog's wrapping around me. The fear, the doom. Kind of surprising I haven't had the absolute fear and doom yet, right? You guys seen all the places I go by myself. I mean, I've felt pressure. I've been in some places where I'm like, I'm out of here. I'm just not into this shit. When I know something's there, something's off. But I haven't had, I've never experienced the feeling to absolutely panic, shit my pants, and run. I've felt panic before. I think the most terrified I've felt in my lifetime, probably commercial fishing when I was a kid. So far offshore, you couldn't even see land, and the waves, you can't even describe how big they are. That was terrifying at first. That memory always comes to mind when I try to picture if I've ever been absolutely terrified. I mean, I've had some real nasty experiences with grizzly bears. I've told those stories on the channels. That's a different fear. It was never doom. It was just adrenaline overload. And then thank God I am built to react properly, and I reacted properly every time, but never have I had the feeling to turn tail and run screaming for mommy. Even when I seen what I saw, I definitely had absolute adrenaline. I had adrenaline, comboed with anger, fright, anxiety, I guess, because it was obvious to me. I thought at first this person or whatever it was is definitely trying to kill me. But I didn't run. I remember it was so dead freaking quiet. And I knew at that young age, too, that if you run, you panic, you lose. And I knew I needed to stay as quiet as I could, move as slow as I could, because it was so dark, so that I would possibly be able to defend myself or get a jump on defending myself as long as I could still hear where that person or being was going to come to me from. And I kept my arrow in the dark, pointed in the direction I last saw it. And I went dead slow, so that I'd be able to fight. I didn't run. I didn't feel the urge to run either. From what all of you describe of that impending doom, your life's about to end, I don't want to feel that. Not me. I'm not curious to know what that feels like. I want to keep on doing what I do, which is this. This is what I love doing. If I couldn't do all of this, where I take all of you, I would probably jump, right? I mean, my life would be over for me as I know it if I couldn't do what I do. So that's probably why I have no interest in feeling those intense feelings, right? All right, the wind's not really picking up. Let's see if I can do one more. I'm starting to get the urge to go see if I can track down that monster buck and see what he is. Let him cool off. What I plan to do is I'll go backtrack a bit, shut her down, pack my stuff, my backpack, my rifle, and then I'll hike about, I don't know, quarter mile to where I last saw his track, and then I'll go after him. All right, here we go. Mark this as red. Sasquatch, our eyes met is the title of this email. Hi, Steve. Please keep my identity a secret. This is the first time I'm telling the story to anyone outside of my immediate family. It was the year 2000, and I was 36 years old, and I lived in the Catskill Mountains in New York. Many people are not aware of the heights and depths of these mountains along with the vast wilderness. It was about 9:30 p.m., and I was on my way back up the mountain from a late church service on a Sunday night. I was on a stretch of the road that had forest on both sides for miles, and the Schoharie Creek, S-C-H-O-H-A-R-E Creek, that also ran alongside the road. I came around a bend, and there before me in the road was a very tall Sasquatch that was frozen in his tracks as he was crossing the road. He obviously was blinded by my high beams. I was not going very fast because the deer like to cross in that stretch of the road, so I'm accustomed to going at a slow speed. Therefore, I was able to come to a stop, and we just looked at each other in disbelief. Our eyes met. I could not believe what I was seeing right there in front of my car. I did not feel threatened at all, but actually felt pity, as it was very skinny, and I felt like it was looking right into my soul. It seemed more like human eyes looking at me than animal eyes. It was dragging a deer across, which it then dropped, and then jumped the guardrail and was gone just like that. Needless to say, I didn't sleep very well that night, but went back the next day to look for tracks to see if the deer carcass was still there, and it wasn't there. And there were no tracks, which I didn't really expect to see, as we were in the middle of a drought. Steve, I always felt that it was possible they exist, and now I know for sure. My general feeling has never been fear of them, but sadness at how difficult their survival must be. The human race can be so mean and unforgiving. Thank you, Steve, for believing in people. Thank you for sending that email. Absolutely appreciate that email. Thank you. That's an odd one. Drop the deer in around. Isn't that weird? That's not what they normally do. And they don't drag them either. They just pick them up, fling them around like a mouse to us, and run. Weird. Not the only person to email in about feeling sorry for them or seeing that look of wear and tear in their eyes, and loneliness or fatigue or just drawn out, done and tired. Maybe it is a sentence being one of those beings, isn't it? Maybe? I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I'm looking around. I always look around when I'm by myself in the middle of nowhere. Some friends of mine in the next town over, the husband, he was working shotgun, they might want to call it bear stopper, for a group of native workers farther up the lake. This is Williston Lake beside me. And they shut her down because the natives had full-size trees being thrown at them just up there. Be a little unnerving, wouldn't it? Okay, this is titled Bigfoot. The shot dead in Alaska, where you were reading emails? Who's behind you with the dog? I noticed the movement right off. I see you trying to look in that direction. Anyways, I have a question I will get to, telling the stories behind the questions at a later date. Number 1, have you heard a bear or any creature sound exactly like a big gorilla? No. And circle camp at night? No. A big woo, woo, sort of. And number 2, how about sounding like more than one chimpanzee? Right after hearing a group of coyotes. No joke. Chimpanzees? Please respond, as this has bothered me for years. I've never heard either sound, and I spent a lot of time in the woods. Nope, I haven't heard those sounds. I've heard a long, drawn-out howl, softer howl, wasn't that far from maybe 100 yards, and it was 3-toned howl, wasn't a wolf. But many, many people here have heard what you described. I'm going to switch my hands. This fog is making it cold. I've been selective to share only to family and close friends. I have an open mind. Anything is possible. I'm 61 now and I live in Oregon from California, with roots from first settlers in Oregon. I worked on a big ranch out of Butte Falls, Oregon, 04 to 09, for a elderly. Bunch of typos, no big deal. I'll make it sound smooth. I worked on a big ranch out of Butte Falls, Oregon, 04-09 for an elderly whom I still miss very much. The ranch was home to me for 5 years, but isolated address, 15,000 or 1,500 Butte Falls, Prospect Road, Butte Falls, Oregon. Around 06 or 07, snow wasn't too much, so I drove to Medford in my 98 Pontiac GPT. There's 2 other ranches visible from the road going toward Butte Falls. Right past the second one is a long straight stretch with rolling little hills. Broad daylight starting to snow. I witnessed something on the right, starting to cross the road. At first glance, I thought it was a big elk. As it entered and crossed the road, I speeded up to confirm to what the F it was that walked under a line of young trees that lined with the road and into the thicker, older timber. When I got to the spot where it crossed, I noticed how the branch was it walked under, a good 8 to 9 feet from the ground. I rolled down my window and searched the woods for whatever that was it crossed. Then got scared. Rolled up the window and burned rubber. All the way to Medford, I was second-guessing what I saw. I picked up the second oldest son, born in 83, told him what happened, and tried to find where this thing crossed the road. But couldn't, or was no tracks as of where it could have been, where it crossed. But snow now was really starting to get heavy, and the car wasn't 4-wheel drive. Any deeper, I might have trouble getting into the ranch, as the driveway was dirt a half-mile long. So we headed to the ranch. What I seen, I tried to rationalize, but I know what I seen. A giant, brown, hairy creature that had long arms. in 2 steps, crossed the road and was gone, maybe a quarter mile in front of me. Mind you, I stomped on the gas and the car's fast to get to where it crossed in hopes of getting a second look at it, but it was gone. It scared the shit out of me. And all the way into town, I was thinking, no freaking way. But, hell yes, I seen what I seen, and it wasn't no bear, and nothing that tall live around there. Nothing that tall lives around there that walks on 2 legs, long, brown, shaggy looking hair, 8 to 9 feet tall. Nothing. So it took some time in my mind to convince myself I've seen what I've seen, and I'm glad I never seen one again because it was a monster. And I don't care if anyone believes me or not. I know it's real. And I've been a true believer ever since. Oh, I camp alone with dogs and no gun, but gonna change that as I've seen bear, wolves, etc. in the woods. I used to hunt and I haven't in years. Do too. Anyways, I'm not scared of the woods, but I'm more observant now, and I always look up. Cats love trees. Thanks for listening. Great channel, and you are the first stranger to hear this. Jana Borba. Name can be used. F unbelievers, I know. Thanks again. Jana, appreciate you big time. Yep, you know, so do I. So do thousands of others. We all know. Oh man, it's freezing. I gotta get moving. It's that fog. Fog in the cold slices through you, doesn't it? But anyway, I wonder how many people listening here have been in that same area as Jana. And seen the same thing. Guarantee you somebody has. Fog. Side note, fog is the #1 enemy for outdoors people who run around out here in the forest, especially on flat land. Even on the mountains. We've been in some places with horses where we got to ride across a big flat on top, way up in the mountains. Right, you go up in the valley bottom, up in the top, across a big flat, and then drop down next side. And sometimes, if you don't have any snow and that fog rolls in, you are screwed. Doesn't matter how many times you've been up there, you're screwed. Same with the forest. Quick note for anybody: if you're about to go venture into the forest and the fog's rolling in, don't do it. I've learned on my own in forest that I've ran around it in the dark, ran around it for years, and the second the fog rolls in, you don't recognize anything. Nothing. You can't recognize your back trail, you don't recognize that tree that you walked by 50 times in the past, you don't recognize anything. And it sucks. I wouldn't be surprised if fog and timber has been a culprit in initiating the demise of many people. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't run around here if there was no snow on the ground. It got foggy like it is. No way. But there's fresh snow, so I'm good. I know how to backtrack. But anyway, speaking of tracking, I'm going to go see if I can't find who laid those massive old deer tracks back there down the mountain. See if I can't catch up to him. Maybe he's caught up some girlfriends or something and they're hanging out. I'll go see what's up. And then maybe I'll give you guys the update later on, and I'll tack on a few more emails onto here, and who knows, maybe I'll find somewhere interesting for you to see in a bit. I hope everything's going well for everyone today in the world. All right, biting my lip. I gotta go. I'll be back. Ugh. All right. I did my hikes. I did 2 big hikes, actually, off the road, up into the timber, but there's just not enough sign there. That big buck, I chalked him down the mountain for a ways, and they cut off heading west, which went into absolute no man's land and cliffs, and I didn't see one other deer track. Probably almost knee height of snow, so it was a bit of a workout, and he's probably still doing a huge circle, and there's no way of guesstimating where he might hang out or where he might show up again. He could even migrate out 10, 15, 20 miles in the night. Who knows? So I recognized the sign and knew that was a waste of time. And then I glassed with my binoculars another old logging cut high up on another hill, and I managed to get to the bottom of it, hiked up into there. Same deal, maybe 3 or 4 deer, that's it. But I looked. That's how you find out. Could have went one of two ways: score, jackpot, or not. Usually it's not, but eventually you keep hiking. You don't give up, and then you find that spot, right? So I'm done. I'm soaking wet, sweaty, and I don't have a specific spot near here to go spend for the last hour of light, so I'm good. Has a good full day. Very good day. I learned a lot today. So I'll finish up with a couple more of these. And then I'm going to head back, get dry, get fed, feed myself. Now I eat a lot of food. When I started doing this, I took 3 of our chickens with me, some elk, burger, and steaks, and I thawed out one of the chickens. It's a 7-pound chicken. I ate it in 2 nights. Plus breakfast and lunches, which didn't include the chicken. And I'm hungry right now. You burn through it. This email is titled Bright Light in the Sky. Hey Steve, I enjoy your adventures. My name is David. I live in the mountains of West Virginia, a little town called Elkins. You know what? I might have been to Elkins. I threw it. One evening in 2008, I was out in my driveway cleaning the wheels of my Chevy Z28. It was in the middle of August. It was starting to get dark earlier. At approximately 7:50 p.m., I stood up from being in a squat position. A couple houses down the street, there was a telephone pole. And hovering above, 25 feet above this pole, was a round, bright light. As soon as I saw it, it shot off faster than anything I ever saw in my life, like the speed of light. It was as if, as soon as it realized I spotted it, it left. It blew my mind, but I didn't think much about it. I got dark, so I had to stop cleaning the wheels and go inside. So the very next evening, I began to finish cleaning the rest of my wheels. But this time, an extra neighbor was outside, and we were talking to each other. When it hit me that it was exactly the same time that I saw that object the night before. Well, just so happened my neighbor was standing right beside me. I just looked up to see if it was there, and the only thing I could do in time was throw my hand up and point at it. I did say, look, but it took off before it came out of my mouth. I asked if he saw it, and he said, "What was that?" And I was so happy that he saw it too. I couldn't believe it. He did I couldn't believe he did before it took off. I told him that I saw it at the exact same time the day before. So I'm pretty sure that we have built our own now. So I am pretty sure that we have built our own now. If I had to bet on it, it probably came from White-Patterson Air Force Base. I believe they take them out for a spin. Thanks for letting me share this. I think the two are connected. Both are seen around nuclear sites. Both are denied by our government. So 100% convinced we had been lied to also. I think we're not alone. And we never have been, buddy. Have a good one and keep up the good things you're doing. All right, man. Appreciate you sending that in. You can't ignore the bright lights. Who's doing them? Who's making them? What different flavors are there? Obviously, there's bright lights accompanying these people. And obviously, there's bright lights coming from something else, right? Strange Footprints title this email. Hey Steve, first of all, I'd like to thank you for giving a voice to those who would otherwise be afraid to speak out. You're performing a great service to people who have been silenced for too long. It's too easy. You're very welcome. Thanks for the kind words. I've never seen any of the Sasquatch beings, but there have been far too many people who have seen them to be able to deny their existence. I've seen some pretty strange things out in the woods, and I'm convinced that there are many other strange things in this world besides Sasquatch that are being covered up by our governments. I'll be turning 67 this year and have been around long enough to know that the government will lie to us every chance they get and will avoid the truth at all costs. Unfortunately, after having 4 heart attacks. I'm no longer able to get out into the wilderness areas like I used to. One of the most unusual things I've experienced happened back in '78. I was spending the weekend with friends in Sugarloaf, California. Sugarloaf is a small community near Big Bear Lake. We all woke up on a Saturday morning and went for a walk in the woods. We walked to the end of their street in the neighborhood. And at the end of their street was a sparsely wooded area, and it was maybe a quarter of a mile to where the dense forest began. It was fun trying to spot and take pictures of the wild donkeys that roamed the area. These donkeys were the remnant of those that were turned loose in the woods after the California gold rush ended. No shit, and they lived. Crazy. Anyway, while we're walking around these woods, I heard several very loud wood knocks. I never associated the wood knocks with Sasquatch, but at the time I wasn't that familiar with all the things that are now attributed to the behavior of the Sasquatch. I thought at the time that it was just someone chopping wood for their fire. And thinking back on it now, I realized that these knocks were far too loud and hollow sounding for it to have been someone chopping wood. And now I realize they were made by someone swinging a large branch against a living tree. While that was interesting, it's not the thing that impressed me the most and worried me on that day. What worried me the most on that day happened on our walk back to my friend's cabin. I am half Native American. My father was of the Sauk, S-A-U-K, Sauk/Fox tribe. He began teaching me how to track animals when I was 4 or 5, so I would be aware of what animals were in the woods with me. Anyway, on our way back to my friend's cabin, we took the street a block behind their cabin and then walked through the alley that returned on the side of their cabin. Being on the paved street, of course, no tracks were present, but as soon as we entered the alley, I noticed tracks that I'd never seen before. The alley was not paved, but dirt covered with gravel. It was hard packed from many years of use. I weighed 175 pounds, and this alley was so hard packed down that I could leave no track on it. The prints I found, however, were 1/8 to a 1/4 inch deep in the hard packed gravel. I cannot even begin to guess the weight of the creature that could have left these prints. I should add now that these were not the prints of a Sasquatch. They were 14 inches long and 5 inches wide at the ball of the foot. They had 3 toes and a stride of at least 5 feet. If I had to describe the prints, I would say they looked more reptilian than anything else I could compare them to. I followed the trackway for 15 or 20 feet until they ended at a 7-foot-tall brick fence where, whatever this thing was, it either stepped over or jumped over the fence. My friends were walking 20 feet ahead of me, and I didn't say anything to them because I didn't want to frighten my friend's wife with the knowledge that there was some kind of monster roaming around their neighborhood. There comes a big breeze. Thank you for taking the time to read this. I've had other experiences with strange creatures, but I'll save those for later as I've already wasted enough of your time. Feel free to use my name. I'm long past caring what people think of me. Michael Harris. Mr. Michael Harris, you didn't waste any of my time, my friend. I appreciate the time you just donated for free to all the people here. It's very kind. Three-toed. A friend of mine, you guys remember a couple years ago, a friend of mine who's a past hunting guide. I was up Central, British Columbia near Jasper at their cabin. We sat in the cabin and made a video for this channel. And he and his friends ran into a massive 3-toed print. Same deal, but they had the stink accompany the smell. They smelt it too, the stink that everyone reports. But it's a 3-toed track. So I don't think we can say at this stage of the game that the 3-toed tracks aren't from the hairy people. I don't know. Who knows? Who frickin' knows, right? Who knows? But a lot of 3-toed prints are accompanied with the same items that a lot of people report in with Sasquatch. The smell, the feeling of being dread, doom, and terrified, right? And the 5 to 6 foot stride, and heavier than shit. Anyway, this road, or maybe it might be an old horse trail, goes deep into the forest. And up the side of that mountain. I don't think it's ever been logged here, so you can see in the timber pretty good. I just might go investigate this trail tomorrow and hike up there. There's no tracks. Well, there's maybe one set of old tracks here, but you never can guess. You never guess if there's game in there or not. You can walk up a road for a half a mile or a mile and not see too many tracks and come around a bend, and it's like there's a herd of cattle in there. So you can never guess. You got to go look. You got to sweat, grind it out, and go look. Not sure, but I'm not sure. I don't think you're allowed to have a motor vehicle past this point. I don't think. I'll have to get the Hun regulations to check it out and make sure. And then I just might do that. Maybe tomorrow. We'll see. But anyway, I don't imagine anybody's probably watching this is probably too glued to the U.S. election right now, but maybe not. Maybe this is a good break from all the craziness that's probably going on in the world today, which I haven't a clue what's up. I haven't been watching nothing. I'm not in any service, and I don't feel like setting up my Starlink, because I don't really have any reason to. Well, I won't comment on the election at all. I'll bite my lip. I got a lot to say, but what I have a lot to say about is just about us, the people. Not political parties, it's the people, right? Got a lot to say about the people all the time. Side note, I've been reading the Bible. And I've also, I've been looking into Buddhism. Out of curiosity, I've been looking into that too. And there's definitely no bad things I've come across yet. Actually, all very, very handy. It's not a religion. The Buddhism one, it's not a religion. It's just a state of mind. Side note, just for anybody who might be curious, that's what I'm looking into right now. But I find the past couple of years I've been looking into, when I do have spare time, I look more into improving between my ears. Well, I still can, right? Well, I'm still alive, but I look into improving, and I look to listen to people and topics that I normally didn't have much time for. And a lot of these different areas I'm looking into when it comes to our mind, our soul, our spirituality, it's very, very helpful. And I don't think you can really help but you can't help but go there after so many years of learning and learning and learning and watching and learning and figuring out that everything's an absolute lie and that we're all peons on average in today's society anyway. And I'm just trying to make sense of everything, trying to learn. I'm trying to learn and figure shit out, figure out the absolute truth of everything. And it's taken me down these two roads and more. Thought I'd share that. Just in case anybody else out there might be curious. I'm reading, I'm looking, and I'm learning non-stop. Anyway, I don't even know why I shared that. It's not hard to babble on when you're by yourself in the middle of nowhere, right? And it is dead quiet here. Let's have a listen. It is dead quiet here. Nothing. Not even a bird. Nothing. Dead quiet. All right, I'm out of here. I'm out of here. We'll be back tomorrow.